Welcome to another episode of What in the Lore, ladies and gentlemen, and in today's episode we will be covering the Roegadyn. Now, forewarning, this video may be a little longer than most, just because there's a lot of information when it comes to their naming conventions later on in the video. But without further ado, let's get it started. The Roegadyn are easily identified by their massive muscular frames. They are descended from a maritime people that roamed in the northern seas, though many of their ancestors turned their long ships south to brave the crossings into Eorzea waters. Often considered a barbaric race, the fiercely competitive Roegadyn are also known for their compassion and unswerving loyalty. Many of the greatest warriors in history were born of Roegadyn stock. One of the subcategories of the Roegadyn are the Sea Wolves. The Sea Wolves originally hailed from the islands of the far North Seas, where they still subsist as fishermen and women. Long ago, no vessel or coastal village was saved from their maritime brand of brutality. Now it's not uncommon to see them employed as sailors or naval mercenaries on all manner of vessels. The Sea Wolves were once feared as brutal pirates of the North Seas. Now, however, they are one of the principal races of Limsa, most often seen employed as sailors or seamen. In keeping with the old ways, the Sea Wolves bear names taken from ancient Roegadyn language. Some additional notes, as transcribed from the Marijuana and Limsa, every child has heard frightening bedtime tales of fearless, bloodthirsty Vikings who would stalk the five seas in their longboats, mercilessly revving and pillaging coastal villages until the shipholds were overflowing with plunder and the villages with their bastards. Several hundred years ago, this was most certainly an accurate description of the Sea Wolf clan. However, now only a fraction of those characteristics remain. They are recognized by the remarkable gait and girth, booming voices, and quick tempers, while many follow, albeit loosely, in the steps of their ancestors and exceed in the art of sailing. On the other side of the fence, we have the Hellsguard. The Hellsguard are a clan of Roegadyn with body and mind tempered by the unforgiving heat of the volcanic regions that they inhabit. Believing these mountains of flame to be the gates to the underworld, their line has for centuries stood vigil over them to prevent the passage of souls back to the realm of the living. Their sheer girth and steely demeanor open to the Hellsguard a wide range of paths, from the martial to the monastic. The Hellsguard are a small clan of Roegadyn that have carved out a home in the north of Alyrblyss Spine. It is a clan tradition to enter the mercenary trade. Thus, the Hellsguard took to giving themselves easily remembered names made up of words in the common tongue. They are a common sight on the streets of Ul'dah, earning a living as sellswords or bodyguards. Some additional notes as transcribed from the Viviki and Ul'dah. There is no mistaking the Hellsguard among the Roegadyn. Their skin is as fiery red as their name implies, and they hail from the northern mountains of Alyrblyss Spine, where generations among the volcanoes has endowed them with rugged bodies and stilly resilience. Here in Ul'dah, they can often be seen working as mercenaries and sellswords, or armorers and blacksmiths, for those with no taste for violence. I suppose the forges remind them of home. The greatest hindrance in studying the Hellsguard is that they have no patience for us. They regard the alchemic trade as dark and sacrilegious sorcery that spurns the 12. I must find a way to study them closer. Alrighty, moving right along to the naming conventions. You will also see on screen the Roegadyn language in the video. I will explain that here shortly. But first up, the Roegadyn Sea Wolves. At a glance, Sea Wolf names can often appear like an amalgam of seemingly random letters, pounded out by a starved monkey chained to a thrift store typewriter. But that's where you're mistaken. There actually is a pattern to this madness. The male Roegadyn Sea Wolves. The male Sea Wolves' names are actually all formed from two words taken from the ancient Roegadyn language. That's the race's ancestors spoke before they came to Eorzea. For example, the name you see on screen is a combination of El, meaning old, and Skyf, meaning ship. Rostnsthal is a combination of Rostin, meaning rusty, and Sthal, meaning steel. Pronunciation of the names can be a bit easier after splitting the name into two parts. Aergaent, you would read Aergaent, as such on screen. Here are some more examples for you guys. Grin Tome would be Bronze Dream, Might Midigan, Middle Morning, Atmaz, 8 Scars. Fun fact, the word Roegadyn actually means people of the rain. Roga being a distorted form of the word Rogan, which would be rain, and then people. As the weather in the northern islands from which they hail fluctuates from thick fog to torrential downpours, and that's when it's too warm for snow. The female sea wolves. Alright, now the female first names follow the same rules as the male's first names, except that the second word used in the names is almost always one of the following. Swiss, sister, so it would be like arm Swiss, poor sister. And here's some other examples below. I'm not going to read them out because I'll probably butcher them. Unless you guys find enjoyment in that, then by all means, I will definitely do that in later videos. But as you can see, it always ends in one of them on the left, but the first name can be made up of just how the male names are. Now, surnames for the sea wolf. The sea wolf last names can appear even more imposing, but in fact they follow the rules similar to the first names. A last name simply takes the father's name and adds either sin, meaning son, or win, meaning daughter. For example, Limsa Lomin's Admiral Melwib Bluefishwin could be broken down like this, referring to set screen. Merrill, meaning sea, plus whip, woman. Blue, blue, plus fish, fish, and win, daughter. In other words, sea wife, daughter of blue fish. Now, both Thoda and Win translate as daughter. However, the use of Win is exclusive to last names. You will never see it used in a first name, such as Kilnwin, as you will never see a last name that uses Thoda, such as Blufishchithoda. Now, let's jump over to the Hellsguard. You will find that the old language, and I say that with air quotes, used in a lot of sea wolf names, as the sea wolves tend to adhere to the ancient traditions and customs from the northern islands in which they hail. The Hellsguard, on the other hand, are more prone to adapt to their surroundings and often choose to translate their names from old language to modern Eorzea. That said, the lines between the two clans aren't set in stone, and you will find some Hellsguard have chosen to use the old language in their names, and some sea wolves have given themselves translated names. Now, the male Hellsguard. Male names are formed from two words, usually a descriptor and a noun, and tend to draw heavily from nature, whether it be a vegetable or an animal, inanimate or animate, abstract or concrete. Some examples would be tall mountain, spinning blade, anonymous moose, still river, bloody catapult. Female Hellsguard names follow the same rules as those of the male names. In addition, there are no restrictions on the second word, as exists in the Sea Wolf forenames. The only difference between male and female Hellsguard names is that the latter tend to include plant imagery, though there are many which do not. On the other hand, the use of trees, flowers, etc. is not exclusive to female names, as there are also many male names which incorporate them. Some examples would be blue lily, weeping orchid, diving sparrow, silent moss. Now, surnames for the Hellsguard. Highly independent in nature, Hellsguard despise being defined by the actions of anyone but themselves, and therefore those who leave their mountain homes for the city-states of Eorzea will often completely drop their family names, choosing only to be referred to by their first. Now, moving on to pronunciation. This is going to be hilarious for you guys, I'm sure. When pronouncing sea wolf names, you can, for the most part, follow the rules of English. There are, however, some exceptions. The vowels. As on screen, you can see how it's laid out. A, E, somewhere between the E and egg and the air and air, depending on the consonant that follows it. Ambitious, or, erg, would be pronounced as that. Ent, or duck, would be closer to, like, a tree ent. It rhymes with scent. An example name using this method would be Aergaent, or ambitious duck. Moving on to the vowel Y. The pronunciation of the vowel Y in the Roegadyn language would be a long E, so kind of like eat, or Steve. Alyr would be pronounced A-leer, so Alyr, it also means alder. Blease would just be pronounced that way. B-L-Y-S-S would be pronounced blease. It rhymes with fleece. A good example of this would be Alyrblyss, or alder blossom. Moving on to the O-E, it makes an oo sound, such as ooh from blue, or, ooh, I pity the food, something along those lines. So Broon would be pronounced broon, or something along the lines like broom, with that O sound in there, or the oo. And then loof which rhymes with goof, would be pronounced like that. It has that long drawn out ooh, like blue, foo. A good example name for this would be Broenloef, which means brown leaf. The consonants, PF, it's much closer to an F than a P. So the word on screen right now, it's Pfym. It rhymes with slim, and it also means 5. And then Skaf, also meaning sheep, it rhymes with staff. So a good example name for this would be Pfymskapf, which would be 5 sheep. TH, it's more like a hard T than a soft Th. So it would be Thosin, and then Sthal. So a good example name for this would be Thosinsthal, also meaning gray steel. Moving right along to the W lands somewhere in between a W and a V. It's nowhere near as hard as the V in villain, but with a little more zing than a W in west. So this word on screen, Wyzyn, it's pronounced V-zyn, that meaning white. This next one, Wilf, meaning wolf, it rhymes along the same terms of filth. You can hear the resemblance. So an example name would be Wyznwilf, or white wolf. Moving on to G, it's almost always hard. So like the G in guilt, but not the G in page. The gin in Swygynagat would not be pronounced like the drink gin, but like gin in the word begin. So this example word, Aergaent, meaning amber, would be pronounced Aergaent. Always that hard G. An example name for this would be Swygynagat. Swygynagat. Yes, I know it sounds funny, but that's how it's pronounced. That meaning silent amber. The letter J has more of a Y sound to it, kind of like in year or yummy. So this example word, Jung, would be pronounced, well, exactly like that. It would be pronounced as Jung. And this means young, by the way, guys. And last but not least in the consonants is H. When it's paired with a vowel before or after, it's almost always silent. So, smid, or it rhymes with kid, smid, you can see that the H is silent. So, an example word for both J and H would be Junghsmhid, meaning young smith. So, like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on with the Roegadyn, especially their language. Now, what I've done for you guys is I have compiled like all their rules and everything, and I'm going to post that down in the description below. Now, why am I doing this? One, this video would literally go on for about probably a half hour if I don't. Down below, what you will find is the Roegadyn dictionary. It has a grammar key. It teaches you how to modify the grammar within the Roegadyn language and examples for it, as well as a spelling rule. So, like, always remove doubled letter when combining a word that ends in the same letter the following word begins with, and examples. So, it's going to be down there for you guys to take a look at and just familiarize yourself with it. I personally find it fascinating. It is shockingly amazing that this is even in the game. Plus, I mean, who knows, maybe one day you'll be speaking like fluid Roegadyn. I mean, put that on a resume, right? Either way, guys, this has been another episode of What in the Lore, and going forward, I plan on covering a couple more races like Beastkin, and I also plan on going forward and touching on the city-states and everything else. If you guys have any suggestions, comments, anything like that, please post down below. Remember, you can find a lot of this information, be it the grammar rules or anything like that, in the description. If you're interested in any of the music or anything like that, I'm pretty sure I include a description down there as well. Please remember to like and subscribe. There will be tons more lore videos coming in the future. I do not plan to stop anytime soon. So until next time, guys, may the 12 bless you.